Hey everybody, welcome to LED Live. This is actually going to be a little different of a show. We wanted to start looking at some trailers every once in a while. We thought about doing like a trailer Thursday or something like that, but it just depends. It might not be an every week thing, but it's something that we wanted to do, and today's Wednesday anyway. But I wanted to jump in on this because a friend of mine had been asking me, hey, have you guys looked at Mortal Kombat yet? And I was like, man, that thing is huge. There's like the first game came out in like 1993
I used to play that.
yeah, on Super Nintendo, and now I know there's at least 11 games, not including sub games like Sub-Zero Mythologies and all this. But so it's a huge franchise, a huge saga. But now there's a movie coming out called Mortal Kombat. I don't even know the title of it, but it's coming out in 2021, and there's one trailer. But we're gonna look at that. We're gonna react to it. And we're going to look at it through the lens of the Bible. I think there's a lot of revelation-type language in the movie. We've seen this over and over and over. We continue to see movies that always have these same attributes, right? It's always like the end of the world. The villain is always like... What do you guys think?
The villain's always like Christ, and they flip it upside down so that you as a viewer, you obviously don't, most normal people don't want the villain to win.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of psychologically messing with you to be like, yeah, go hero. But he shares a lot of attributes like Satan.
It's not the first movie they made. They made one like, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Longer than that.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, they came out with one.
Yeah.
There was a lot of controversy over the video game. Did you guys ever play the video game?
Yeah.
I love
No,
it.
yeah, I remember playing the video game. And like it was like all the parents were up in arms, like, oh, how can kids play this kind of violent video game?
Yeah, it was like the first game that introduced fatalities, like ripping people apart.
Scorpions and...
It was really the first game that came to like a home console that just was filled with gore and violence. And so on that alone, I would say no Christian needs to be watching this movie. It's violent. It's all about murder. It's satanic. I mean, you just look at the levels and everything. And actually the game saga is full of, I was looking to a little bit, there's different worlds or realms, and they even have a heaven and hell and an Eden. They have all these biblical languages, But I wanted to start this off by saying, if you were, just imagine you guys, okay, I'm coming to present you guys a book that I just wrote. This is just for illustration right here. All right, you guys are Christian Books Incorporated, and I'm saying, hey, I got this really cool book that I wrote. It's based off of Revelation. It's going to be like a Christian fiction book. And here's basically the trailer for the book. A warrior woman is telling the hero Darkness. The hero's name is Darkness. So a woman warrior is telling the hero Darkness, our target enemy tore through us in seconds. He has superhuman abilities. So they're fighting against someone with superhuman abilities. She notices a marking on his chest and says, you are one of the chosen. You have been marked by the dragon. She explains that cultures all over the world throughout history have been planning for a great battle. It's a battle of mortals versus the one with superhuman abilities. The chosen mortals unite and say, the fate of Earth is in our hands. Wow. The hero says, no matter how many of my people you've put in the ground, we will not fail. And then finally, the supervillain is finally revealed and says, I am.
Wow,
What do you guys think about this movie?
I hear a lot of revelation language in there.
Well, will you guys publish my book? And if not, will you tell me theologically why not? Like, look at, can you guys see these things here?
Yeah, so yes, I would be very against this kind of thing because I understand, from a biblical perspective, what that end of the world scenario is going to play out like. And so, I think that this is basically fighting against God, calling a supervillain someone that says, I am. That's God's name.
Let's take it like one line at a time. So a warrior woman's telling a hero named Darkness, our target enemy tore through us in seconds, and he has superhuman abilities. What would you summarize that as a parable of?
You're telling a warrior woman.
No, a warrior woman is talking to the hero whose name is Darkness, and she's talking about the villain, and she's saying He tore through us in seconds. He has superhuman abilities.
I suppose that if you're where are you coming from this, first of all?
This is biblical language.
Yeah, biblical language. So you're using the book of Revelation to kind of illustrate something. So the woman would be like an illustration for the church.
Wow, you're going deeper. I wasn't even thinking about the woman as just a generic person, but yeah, what do you think about this villain has superhuman abilities? So then she notices that he has a marking on his chest, and she says, "You are one of the chosen. You've been marked by the dragon."
Like a mark is a bad thing.
No, this is the
So
good
that's
guy.
the thing about the book of Revelation, and that's why I think people easily get confused. Is you're saying, well, the villain has superhuman abilities. Well, on both sides they have superhuman abilities. Satan does, and so does Christ.
But the hero's
right?
name is Darkness. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aside from that, they both have superhuman abilities. And then you get to the point where it's like, well, you've been marked by the dragon. Well, just like Satan always has a counterfeit, right? And so in Revelation, everybody gets marked.
That's
Everybody.
True. That's true, yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's getting marked.
Yeah.
So it's the distinction of what it is. So being marked by the dragon, well, what does that sound like? That sounds like the beast power, right?
Yeah,
Because
who's the
that's-
dragon?
That's what the Bible in Revelation defines as God's enemies, calls it the dragon.
Yeah.
And later on it specifically says Satan, right? So, there's these similarities because Satan always counterfeits what that Christ is doing. It's like, the beast has horns. Well, so does the lamb in Revelation. It has horns as well, you know. And the beast receives a deadly wound. Well, so does the lamb. It says it was, it was the lamb that was slain. So there's all of these counterfeits going on. And so from a surface level perspective, you watch it and it's like, oh yeah, that's the bad guy. That's like Satan and da 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 da. And you go through everything because you're not thinking about it because it sounds so similar. Right. It's when you start to, okay, pause. Let's think about this. What do these things mean? Are they as they appear?
Right.
Or are they slightly differently? Right? Or slightly different. And this is one of those cases where it's slightly different. You have to pay attention to the distinctions. So, yeah, they're pointing they're hitting at all the right hot button spots, but you have to think about what those things represent. In the Bible, the dragon's never the good. Right?
Exactly.
Never the good.
Exactly. So then she explains that cultures all over the world throughout history have been planning for a great battle. Scotty has a verse on his computer here.
Revelation 16 verse 14 says, "For they are the spirits of devils working miracles that go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty."
Oh, wait. It said through all over the world, cultures all over the world throughout history have been planning for a great battle, right? So it sounds like this book that I'm writing is about, is it about the lost or is it about the righteous? Who are going to battle?
The lost?
Yeah. The lost are the ones who are battling. The lost are the ones who are marked by the dragon. And the lost are the ones who are saying, hey, our enemy has superhuman abilities because they're going to make war with him.
Satan's the one that always brings the war.
Yeah.
So listen to a little further on in Revelation. This is Revelation 20, verse 7. It says, "When the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed from his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. Gog and Magog gather themselves together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and encompassed the camp of the saints about that beloved city. And then fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them." So,
Wow.
So it's kind of like the same thing for the superhero. Just like last week we did, the Justice League.
Yeah.
Kind of like Batman is getting all those super heroes, to get word. It's kind of like the
Exactly.
same.
I want people to see that we're not just watching one thing and like, oh, you're just trying to make something out of it. This is over and over and over.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
feel like Hollywood's just running out of ideas, or they're trying to brainwash you, one or the other.
Yeah.
It's always the same thing.
I mean, if you think, how many stories have you seen with something coming in the sky, leaving Independence? I mean, you've got the whole Transformer series. You've got, these are all outside threats coming to destroy at Marvel. I mean, Justice League, in the end of the whole Justice League is all about
6
them
billion
coming to
people.
fight against this coming thing in the sky. And here it is, like, the Bible talks about a day that there's going to be a great battle. I mean, that's kind of how it's stated in here as well.
Somebody said to look at Job 41 because it talks about Leviathan, which is a sea creature, right? And Leviathan in Job 41 it's essentially a sea dragon. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And its scales are impenetrable. It's like man is no match for Leviathan. If you read the chapter in Job, and God is describing this creature that is so powerful you can't do anything against it, and it's really just it's a depiction of Satan. And again, if you look at Revelation, the dragon comes out of the what?
The sea.
Out of the sea, right? Leviathan is essentially a picture of Satan. It's an Old Testament portrayal of what you find in the New Testament. And one thing I was looking at recently, and maybe I should have done a trailer reaction on this, but there's a new Disney Pixar film called Luca, right? I was just showing you the other day.
Dragon thing.
And there's a little boy, and his best friend is this sea monster. And I was like, really the only time in the Bible you find a monster that comes out of the sea is always a representation of Satan.
But he's the little boy's best friend.
But he's a little boy.
And also Raya.
And if you look at the town, everybody is geared toward getting rid of sea monsters by their imagery. This is a bad thing. They don't want to have anything to do with the sea monsters. So it's kind of fascinating how they're always working that in. And yeah, Raya, same thing.
Raya, that's like
The dragon.
the dragon is
always
about the end of the world.
Mulan, it's the dragon, right? And
Now this is not just I want to be culturally sensitive because, dragons have been a part of the Eastern culture for a long time. But I spent a little bit of time in Taiwan, and I remember going and visiting some places and just seeing dragons everywhere. And like in the burial places, which are actually really amazing to see, there was just dragons on everybody's tombstones and I remember thinking, like, isn't that kind of interesting when we're all risen? You're all gonna see what's going on. Everybody gets a chance to see. The curtain is pulled back, and it's like, are you being raised up, and are you seeking the dragon, or are you seeking, the king?
I want to give a thank you to Anthony. Thank you so much for your support, and to Nicey Kennedy.
Yeah, Nicey Kennedy.
Thank you so much for your ministry. I've been so blessed by your ministry. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate your support.
somebody said we're reaching because it's in Chinese. It's Chinese culture. Wow, you guys are reaching.
So I want to address that. A lot of people bring up the culture aspect. If I go to Biloxi or Louisiana, their culture is voodoo. So voodoo's okay, right? It's just our culture. What if I go somewhere else and it's like, well, in our culture, we have sex with our own children or something, It doesn't matter if it's culture. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I don't understand why, if you say, well, it's just culture. There's a lot of wicked things in culture. It doesn't make it right.
Right, and I'm not trying to put down on Chinese culture or anything like that. I'm just really trying to say, isn't it interesting that, the Bible speaks of the devil as a dragon, and it's like there's been cultures along the world. I mean,
Mexico.
You look at the history of the Hebrews when they were around, there was other cultures that were worshiping and had different things in their culture. But really, like Paul says, when you pull back the layers, they were worshiping things that they didn't know what they were, and they were actually demons.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make that line of connection that, like, a dragon just all of a sudden means the demons. I'm just saying, isn't it interesting that from a Christian perspective, at the end, you have this imagery of this dragon, and it's like, there's a lot of dragon imagery in China.
He's called the dragon. He's called the serpent. You look all around the world. Mexico
is in the Aztec Empire. It was it's called Quetzalcoatl, that is serpent with wings.
Serpent with wings.
Isn't
Yeah.
it fascinating that it crosses
That's
so
right.
many cultures, though?
There you
Yeah.
go.
That there's dragon legends in so many different cultures for a long time. Like, it's usually one of the more ancient of their legends is this dragon creature. It's fascinating.
And let me tell you, the Aztecs, it was one of the warriors, the best warriors, right? Like, but those guys, they were more bloody guys. I mean, they take the heart out, you know what I'm saying? And
eat it.
Yeah, not eat it or whatever. But the thing is that the serpent, that was one of the gods.
Yeah, and then the New Age movement, same thing. You want to do a hand mudra and meditate and get the Kundalini serpent to go up to your crown chakra. You know, it's always a serpent, a dragon. You know,
And another thing that I want to just mention with this whole dragon topic, because as we've been discussing this whole anime world, it's like, I can't tell you how many questions have come in or people's comments saying, well, you guys just don't understand. It's not like that in Japan. Like, Christianity doesn't mean the same in Japan. Yeah, but it means that here. So if we're watching that here, that's what it means to us. You know what I mean? So, this is popular here.
so what if we took some other culture's sacred text and completely twisted it around, like Buddha's really an evil guy and all that, like that would be
gonna eat
frowned
your
upon.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in this Mortal Kombat, what we're talking about, in the martial arts, the dragon is the ultimate. That's the
Right.
creature that when you're training, you always want to imitate because it has the most power. As a dragon's tail strike. If I'm coming out like this, it's called a dragon's tail strike to strike you. Wham! You're using that power of the dragon. You make a punch with a knuckle, your middle finger, and that's called a dragon's head. And you're using that to strike pressure points, right?
Wow.
And so there's these different things that are named after a dragon, and other animals too. But the Shaolin priests, at least the ones in Hunan, in Tibet and in different places, it's different. But when you go to become a priest, you have to lift a cauldron at the end of a hall of like 100 or 108 wooden dummies or something. They're mechanically triggered and designed to essentially kill you. So if you make it out alive, you're pretty good. But to get out of the building, there's a cauldron you have to lift so that the door gets removed. And on one side is a dragon, which goes on, I think, your right arm, and the other side is a tiger, which goes on your left arm. Symbolizing this is the power of the animals or creatures you want to harness. So the dragon is very prominent in martial arts as one of the creatures you want to imitate. Others too, but that's the number one.
I wish I could find the image of it. Eric Wilson in the Dragon Revealed was talking about how on the patches that they'd have these patches of a woman on a dragon in the sea.
Right.
It's like that's straight
that's
up
fascinating.
revelation.
That I never
Right.
seen. That was new to me when I
Right.
seen that. I was like, that's
I have searched it
interesting.
and found it before.
Right.
But
So, just to finish up with this thing, we have those chosen are saying the fate of earth is in our hands. We know that Christ is coming to destroy the earth, destroy the wicked in the earth. He's removing the righteous and destroying the wicked who are in the earth. So if you are wanting to save the earth from this destruction, then you're part of Satan's army who's doing that. Boom, yeah. Michael, show Scotty's screen there.
Let me see.
Look at that.
So here's an actual real martial arts, patch that
Yeah.
has a really interesting.
As
movement.
above, so below.
that's a
Yeah.
Japanese one.
Oh, the Japanese.
Yeah.
Right.
Ishin Ryu
Yeah,
is,
Isshin Ryu,
is
right.
Japanese.
Wow, that's amazing. And so then let's go ahead and get into the trailer. I just did this little fictional thing about writing this book because I want it to be like, I want to show you guys that this isn't just like, oh, I'm just really looking at this and I really want to find something in here. I don't have to look for it. It jumps out at you. When you read Revelation, when you study the Bible, these things just jump out at you. Like we talk about, when you don't study the counterfeit to see the counterfeit. You study the Word of God, and then when you see these things, they just jump out at you. And if I were to write this book and present it to a Christian publisher, they would say, why are you writing this? You're making the enemy the hero. You're fighting against God. So let's just watch the trailer. You're going to see all these attributes in this trailer.
I haven't watched it.
First learned about this on a fugitive. When we got there, it tore through our unit in seconds. Superhuman abilities.
Right.
The same marking you do, Cole.
Mm.
It's a birthmark. Really? He was born with it.
Hmm.
Throughout history, different cultures all over the world reference a great tournament of champions. Dragon market. I think it's an invitation to fight for something known. It's Mortal Kombat.
Now we blurred that, right?
Yeah. It's pretty bloody.
I'm sorry.
Even the trailer.
Thanks, Jax. The fate of Earth is in our hands.
New Age.
Yeah, good job, Mikey.
So that's the villain. So the villain is the dragon? Oh, Sub-Zero. Violent.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, you I mean you can clearly see if you put your biblical glasses on, this world that they're presenting to you, you know, that's the villain talking to the other side saying, I don't care how many people you've put into the ground. God
Yeah.
has not put those people in the ground. Sin has put those people
That's
in the
right.
ground. You know what I mean? And you know, people can argue or not, you know, whatever, God's killed tons of people in the Bible, you know, in the Old Testament, but ultimately that was judgment being passed because of their sin. So
Yeah.
the sin is what's put them in the ground. So the fact that you see that and he's like, you know, we will not fail. I mean, those are words from God. And I love it how so many movies that we have analyzed on here have this I am.
Yeah.
And people fight against that. They're like, whatever,
So,
everybody
yeah,
says I am.
everybody said, oh, what if I say I am hungry? Does that mean I'm mocking God? No. I mean, it was very, I am
Pause.
Sub-Zero.
Yeah,
And I was like,
Yeah.
I wonder who Sub-Zero is. So I asked Google, who is the villain in the new Mortal Kombat movie? Bada bing, bada boom, Sub-Zero.
Now, I want to bring this out too. This is a really interesting thing because really, I mean, I have not seen this. I do not know the backstory of this, but I'm just guessing. So you guys get a chance to see how we sit down and think and analyze content. But if Sub-Zero really is a depiction of God or Jesus, right? Like Jesus is the one that said, I am. Before he was Jesus, he was the, you know, when he showed up to Moses, that was the character that came down to earth as Jesus, the one that met Moses in the burning bush. Okay, so he's the one that said, I am.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting that they say Sub-Zero because what does the Bible actually say God is like? God is,
The consuming fire.
but he's also described God in a very short sentence. God is one word.
Perfect.
Love.
Holy
Love.
Jesus. Oh, but he's
Now this is
cold.
really interesting. That if this is an occult perspective, they flip it on its head and they go, no, he's the coldest individual out there. He ain't got no warmth to him, you know.
Yeah.
And this guy's cold.
Also, since we're
Not
talking
love, it's
about
not
like
warm, it's not happiness.
everything has a reason, right? Every little detail, this stuff has a reason. Sub-Zero is what color?
Blue.
We talked about the blue representing the law.
That's right.
Now look at this guy. This is the main hero. This is the one who's been marked, chosen. Look at his name. Cole Young. Now I was like, I wonder what coal means. I'm thinking coal, black coal, like you burn. But I looked it up. That's what it means. I was thinking, I'm not thinking right. It's not going to really be coal. It is. It says when you look up the name Cole, it means black as coal. So the hero is black as coal, and the villain is blue, Sub-Zero, who says I am. Fighting against the law. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, for us to over and over point this out and people to say, oh man, you're picking something out that doesn't mean anything. It was so predictable. When he said I am, right then, boom, I bet he's the villain. And I looked it up. Then I looked up, well, who is this Cole guy? Screen Rant is saying that there's a lot of messages in the trailer that lead him to be Scorpion. Now, if you know anything about Scorpion, he's from hell. Scorpion became a hell spawn, revenant, residing in hell.
No, that's, I mean, see, you can't flip that around.
We can't make this up either.
You know what I mean? You can't all of a sudden be like the hero of the story. Well, he really resides in hell, but he's really a good guy. He really, you know, he's really the one that's like a Christ type. See, I think, you know, nobody is going to argue with you that movies is a powerful storytelling format, right? Everybody's like, hey, this is one of the most impactful things. In fact, we talked about this on the show the other day. There's a reason why there is a commercial during the Super Bowl sold for $5 million for 30 seconds. That would be a really bad use of your money if you think that, hey, it did not work at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're getting the profit back.
So what were you saying about coal again?
Coal, the name coal means black as coal, like real coal that you burn.
The hero of the movie.
That he's the main character that chose
but
him.
I wouldn't say that, because coal, a person's name is spelled C-O-L-E.
Yeah, well, look it up.
I did, and it means
is it?
kale or cabbage.
Kale or cabbage. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know.
So I don't know.
One of the
I don't
sites
know
I
that
looked
that's
up-
like maybe a different site, but yeah, I'm pulling up cabbage on a lot
Yeah, I
of
was gonna
stuff.
say, because I wasn't even gonna say that until I looked it up, and I was like,
C-O-A-L, yeah, that would probably.
wow. Yeah,
So I don't know.
so that's why it's good to have fact checkers on the show.
Yes, but in the same way, have you guys ever heard of the Lesser Key of Solomon?
I have, yeah.
So the Lesser Key of Solomon was actually a list comprised, I think it was in the 14th century or so, of the actual people that had communication with demons. So they knew their names. And when you read the list, and then even people like Aleister Crowley, he came back and he met a bunch more demons, and so he kind of updated the list and wrote a bunch of other people's names. Those names changed, morphed, kind of were similar throughout different cultures and stuff like that. So, you know, names can easily mean things, have double meanings, and then even the spelling can be swapped around. I mean, that's very common in things like that. So
actually-
Baal wasn't always B-A-A-L, you know, it kind of took different forms throughout different
but
cultures. And
I guess in my mind, you know, coal, C-O-L-E, is how you would spell the name coal.
Yeah, that's what I was
C-O-A-L is how you would spell the mineral. And I'm
Yeah.
just not
Yeah,
unlikely to
This
cross
is what I
those two.
saw. Swarthy,
Oh, interesting.
coal, black, charcoal.
So Wikipedia says differently.
Yeah. So like I said, I was
Fascinating.
doubting that too, and I thought that was my first thought. Like, oh, coal makes me think of black coal, but I was like, surely not. But
Well,
so I mean, that's all I have for the slides. I wanted us to respond looking at that through the lens of the Bible, and I just think it's man, it's not. This cannot be just coincidence over and over. It can't be something like we're just crazy and we just make something out of nothing.
And I think we really need to illustrate the idea that, look, you know, the Bible is describing that the end is near. In fact, you know, pop culture is once again, you know, putting this concept out there over and over and over again. And so, you know, wherever you guys are, whatever you're into, you know, you're getting a message that's very similar on both sides of the fence.
That's true.
One of them is really pushing you to war against, you know, that, or roaring against morals, or, you know, just really breaking you down and saying, you know, do whatever you want, follow your heart, there is no rules. Like, that's kind of one side of the argument. And there's another side that's just saying, look, the end is near and be prepared. And so, you know, whatever, you know, side of the fence you are standing on, you know, we hope that you'll just take it seriously and look into what the Bible has to say, and you know, balance that against what the world is saying, because a lot of the times there's two perspectives coming at you, but they're really discussing the same thing. And so, you know, it's really easy to dismiss, oh, whatever, you guys are Christians and crazy and blah blah blah. But you know, really look at what the world is pushing out there in the same way it's pushing what a lot of Christianity is talking about as well. So both can't be right.
Sure.
You know, one's going to be a counterfeit of the other one, and I believe that you will do well if you stand on the source of truth, the Bible.
Yeah.
Amen. So get into that word, read Revelation so you can understand what keeps being pushed out here, and you can catch those little catchphrases, you know, like when you watch a trailer. We don't have to watch these movies. People say, oh, you didn't watch the movie, you're judging it. I am judging it. I'm making a righteous judgment on this. Do not watch this movie. It's the hero is from hell, and he's fighting against the guy who said I am, and it may be a coincidence, but either way, this movie's violent and wicked, and I just wanted to show you that there is a spiritual battle out there. There is a war for your mind, for your soul, and we know, according to the Bible, that Christ is going to return. He's going to bring destruction, and you're either going to go up with him, or you're going to be left to be destroyed with this fire.
And God's people won't be marked with the dragon. And they won't get their power from the dragon.
Yeah.
I also want to like just throw a Bible verse out there, Psalms 11:5, because obviously talking about this kind of a story is very violent. In fact, you blurred out some of the stuff because we can't even really like show that kind of violence in good faith. Listen to what Psalms 11:5 says. The Lord tests the righteous, but his soul hates the wicked and the one who loves violence. You know, there's very few times that the Bible will describe that God actually hates something, because the Bible describes, the Bible describes God as love, and here we have an example of God saying, "Look, I can't stand violence because of what it does. I mean, it's destroying my people. You end somebody's life." They can no longer choose from that point on. They're done. They're sealed. And I think that's why God really hates violence. So just based on this alone, I mean, even if you don't believe what we're saying in a connection of Revelation and this and that, don't go watch this on just the violence aspect alone.
Yeah. If you go in the ending somebody's life, you know, when Jesus was in the process of dying, what was he agonizing over? He was agonizing over the lost connection with his Father that he had from eternity past. And so I think what God hates about where violence leads is you lose that connection permanently, you know. And that's what he came to do, is to restore that connection back permanently. Otherwise we wouldn't have it. You know, God didn't create the human race to watch us die out and be nothing. He created us to be forever.
That's right.
You know, that's why Ecclesiastes says he's put eternity in our heart. So, you know, if that's where violence leads, that's why God hates it.
Yeah. Anybody have any last remarks?
Yes, two things. One is just see the trailer. I mean, I remember I used to play that game when I was in middle school. I mean, I think I spent a lot of money in that.
That's worse than
that
you used to play.
I know. But I think I spent a lot of money in those machines, you know, putting my coins and everything. And I was thinking, you know, back then, I mean, like you were saying, I mean, the violence and all stuff. And I mean, just to memorize those phrases, you know, come here, you know, all the stuff. I mean, but let me tell you, that was like 20 something years. And right now, I mean, like we were talking about violence. I mean, we don't want another bloody violence movie, man. I mean, look at the world, man. You just turn the TV on. It's like, can we just make something like love your family, man? I mean, take care of your kids and you know, or your self-esteem or something like that, you know, something to help the world
positive,
to a better place. I mean, I'm not against that thing, you know, but it's like with this movie, I mean.
Think about this. What if someone came up to your daughter and got into a fight with her and people were yelling, finish her, you know, and rip her heart out and this and that, right? That'd make you pretty upset. Anyone who's there who has a family member and stuff, if somebody was doing that to your child or your family member, you'd be upset.
Yeah.
But why don't we have that same view towards just everyone?
Yeah.
Why aren't we just displaying the love of Christ? Why is this what's coming out of our society? And I believe that there's a stark difference between those that follow this system of the world and those that say, you know what, I want to love my enemy. I want to love those that hate us and spit on us and make all these terrible comments towards us. We love you guys. Thank you for showing up. And so, you know, this is where the rubber meets the road. Where's your Christian character being developed right now? And I don't believe that this is profitable at all.
Yeah.
It blurred it out. You couldn't see it, but I'd seen the trailer when it came out. There's one part where Sub-Zero, he injured somebody, and then there was blood involved, and he either took a piece of the body or the blood and used that to inflict further injury. He froze
the
it
blood.
and made it a weapon to continue using it. I mean, that's just
Like no feelings,
that's sadistic,
right? Like,
you know, sadistic.
Which is even more interesting because, you know, like God's, you know, there's a
Life
lot of-
is in the blood.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting
Life
things
is
about
in the blood, and you're using the blood to kill somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we hope this was a good trailer review. If you guys like this type of thing where we're going to react or review trailers, we see that a lot of people like that. We're probably going to give you a little bit of different review or reaction than most other channels out there. But if you like it, let us know and we'll keep this thing up. But we pray that you guys were blessed and that this was a warning. And hopefully you didn't need much of a warning to stay away from this movie. But we'll see you guys this Friday on LED Live. Until then, we'll see you guys later.
So just like the t-shirt says, real eyes, realize, realize.
We realize it.
Should we tell them about our documentary on martial arts?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Yeah, right?
We're here,
Driving
right?
review,
Yeah.
right?
so we have a documentary on the martial arts that we made several years ago, and it's a two-part series. The first part you can actually find for free on our YouTube channel. And can we put
Share
a
it.
link in the description below?
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah,
do that
yeah, we'll
later?
put a dragon reveal
Can we
link.
give them a discount?
Sure, we can give them a discount.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put a discount link in the description below.
Yeah.
That way you guys
There you
can
go.
watch the whole thing. Because part 2 is really good. Part one's a testimony and kind of shows how all this was revealed to Eric Wilson. But part 2, man, it's just mind blowing.
And we have also in Spanish, the Dragon Reveal part 1, Eric Wilson testimony is in Spanish too. So if you have Spanish friends, we're going to put that link there and share it. Share it.
The other thing I was going to say is if you want to learn more about the Bible, we have Bible studies. And so we'll
Yeah.
also put that link in the description below, and you can study and enroll in our Bible school and learn more about what the Bible teaches and what's coming down the pipe in these last days.
And thank you guys for those that donated through the super chat and
Yes.
Patreon donors or anybody that's watching that's supported our ministry over the years, not only with finances, but with just prayer or encouragement or something like that. You guys, this is the reason why we do what we're doing. And we love you guys. And we hope that you're blessed by all the things that you see coming out of this ministry.
All right.
Take care.